Matchmaker Nirali Vora is forced to share office space with the divorce lawyer, Kostab Chowgyul. As their opposite personalities clash, there's more chaos in the office and their personal lives. On the busy streets of Mumbai in India, Nirali drives the auto as fast as she can with the scared driver sitting at the back. She asks her mom, Karan, to delay the wedding as much as possible. She had to leave it midway because the sign didn't have their name on it. She needs everything at this wedding to go perfectly and just asks for some time. Mrs. Prasad is frustrated with her Tamilian husband and his South Indian habits. Even he feels like she doesn't make any effort to incorporate his culture in her life. The family court judge thinks they are wasting the court's time by asking for a divorce for such petty issues. When he's about to grant a 3-month cooling-off period, Kostab requests him to expedite the divorce. He thinks the situation can escalate anytime and is sure total opposites like them will not be able to make it work. Nirali is back to the wedding on time to congratulate the happy couple and asks them to tag her on social media. Karan is crying more than anyone in the wedding because this is the last one she is organizing. But she is excited about her daughter taking over the unique matrimony business, even if Jayanti Auntie seems confused about Nirali now being a psychologist and matchmaker. Nirali thinks both jobs involve uniting people and is happy to be doing some good in the world. In court, Kostab wants the judge to understand that marriage is a punishment. He gives an analogy of Chinese food to explain that everyone enjoys it till they're forced to have it every day, which eventually might suffocate them. He feels like his clients are suffering and wants the judge to relieve them. The judge is tired of his explanations and finally grants the divorce. When his client thanks him for helping with the divorce, he thinks that if they spent more time learning each other's languages and less on finding faults, they would still be together. But he has done his job and gives her a just divorced and happier sticker for her car. When the bride and the groom leave, Karan is excited to see the name of their business prominently displayed on the just married sign. Nirali is nervous on her first day of taking over the business, but Karan thinks she has nothing to worry about. As Karan shows her the office, she's excited about finding an amazing co-working space, and has even paid the rent for a year. Nirali notices the sign of a divorce lawyer next to her and thinks it'll be terrible for her matchmaking business. Kostab's secretary, Serena, comes to defend him and claims he's a family lawyer who helps people stuck in unhappy marriages. Karan wants her to adjust since she knows everything is allowed in Mumbai, as even the gyms are right next to ice cream shops. Karan is just happy about retiring so she can spend time with her friend Pushpa, who is referred to as Pussy Auntie. The next day in office, Kostab notices he has a new neighbor who is matchmaker, and decides to welcome her. While he's introducing himself to Nirali, he gets distracted by how messy her office is, since he needs everything to be clean. He hands over some business cards as he thinks they can work together. His plan A is for her to get people married, while the plan B can be him helping the same people get divorced. He feels it's beneficial for them to have the same clients who take both their services, since he feels most marriages end in divorce. For every client she sends his way, he offers to give her 8% of his profits. When she claims she has no interest in this deal, he notices that she might need more business. She feels offended and asks him to leave since she thinks he needs to work on his manners. Her sister-in-law, Seema, is happy she took Nirali's advice and decided to work on her marriage. She's excited about how things are going with her husband and before her big date, informs her that Karan won't be home that night. Her son, Kabir, is already in Nirali's room, and she asks her to not give him too much attention. Nirali decides to pamper Kabir with a display of ice creams for dinner. As she enjoys hers in front of the TV, Kabir feels like she's eating her feelings. He remembers how cool she used to be, but now she just keeps crying over her ex, Varun. When she gives him her phone to delete all his memories, he thinks she needs to delete him from her heart too. She teases him about being too old for his age and runs after him. Kostab loves to dance and refuses to leave the floor, even when his friends, Girish and Preeti, are ready to head home. Girish still wants to stay because he knows dancing is the only thing that makes Kostab happy, after what happened with Runchan. For the last dance of the night, Kostab takes over the stage and dances his heart out. Kabir tries to teach Nirali some steps for Karan's birthday, but she is terrible at it. Girish and Preeti bring a drunk Kostab home again and she refuses to have sex with Girish till he sets Kostab up with someone. She knows till the time he gets a girlfriend, they won't be able to have a private moment. She locks the door but comes out once, to keep some food for Kostab, who will need it when he wakes up. Girish wakes up the next morning to find a girl on the couch with Kostab. He wakes them up and asks for an explanation. Kostab apparently woke up in the middle of the night feeling hungry and lonely, so he called her from a nap. Girish is scared of Preeti's reaction and scolds him for having fun when he's not even able to sleep with his own wife. Kostab understands his discomfort and quietly takes Diana away. Kostab reaches the office hungover to find Nirali's office smelling of pickle and incense stick. He asks her to do something about the smell because he thinks the whole office is stinking. She thinks he's disrespectful and switches on a fan in anger so he gets the smells more prominently. She feels these are normal Indian smells and since no one else is complaining, he needs to deal with it. The next time, when he notices her running toward the elevator, he rushes inside and closes the door so she can't come in. She's very angry about this rude and arrogant behavior from him and wonders if he would have done the same with an elderly person. He thinks such mistreatment is reserved specially for her and claims he has some clients waiting. She thinks she does too, but her office is empty. It's clear to him that the matchmaking business won't work in the times of Tinder, but when her clients do come in, she confidently replies that he shouldn't pursue family law if he's just trying to break them. He wants to fight more, but Serena reminds him about the client. When he comes to meet Pooja, she's excited to see him and flirts a little since she was expecting someone older. She feels like her marriage lacks comfort, which is why she wants a divorce. Nirali's clients, Richa and Raj, have gone on 3 dates but don't feel anything. Even if she insists they are a 90% match. They still think they're very different, and Richa feels irritated that Raj knows every footballer's name but not her uncle's. Pooja is worried about Parth's health in this divorce since he doesn't even poop without her. Kaustubh makes some notes and knows it'll be tough for the court to keep a mother without her child, so he is sure this case is working in her favor. When he learns Parth is 9 years old and doesn't even mate without her, he gets very confused. When she clarifies that Parth is her Labrador, things make a lot more sense, and even Serena finds it hilarious. Richa doesn't want to settle for anyone and thinks she should check out some other guys. Nirali reminds her that she's not shopping online, but making an important decision about her life. She suggests they should try some daily affirmations and asks them to repeat it loudly with her. When Pooja asks him more about Parth's custody, Nirali's client's affirmations about love are too loud and disturbing everyone in the office. Kaustubh can't concentrate and excuses himself to remind Nirali to keep it down. He thinks shouting doesn't help with relationships, but she feels shouting something right shouldn't be a problem. He reminds her that they're in a shared workspace, but she is done with his problems and asks him to leave. Kaustubh has gone through too many cups of coffee because of her, but Serena still feels Nirali is not that bad. He compares her to a bad habit like and seems very frustrated with her. Serena notices Nirali coming behind him and tries to warn him, but he keeps ranting about how horrible she is and understands why she doesn't have a boyfriend. He thinks if she did have one, he would end himself. She starts crying as Kaustubh continues to make choking noises. Serena finally calls out her name to alert him, which finally makes him feel bad. He discusses this incident with Girish, but mostly wants to rant about how disorganized she is. He can't stand her and everything about Nirali disturbs him. Girish wants him to stop obsessing over Nirali and discuss Ranjan instead. Kaustubh is sure Ranjan is still sleeping with her boss and doesn't think there's anything to discuss, because he has no intention of speaking to her. Pussy wants to set up Nirali with a nephew, and she imagines herself hanging out with the guy and getting depressed because she used to do the same things with Varun. When she suggests another man, she thinks of another scenario where the guy asks her to dance, but she remembers she left dancing because Varun didn't like it. She has given up on men and asks the women to stop finding someone for her, because she can't forget Varun. Kaustubh thinks everyone needs to change with the times and thinks Girish and Preeti are the only successful couple he knows. Karan asks Nirali to forget the past and move on, but they both know it's not easy. Karan reminds her of how she dresses up and goes to parties to live her life, but it doesn't mean she doesn't miss her dad. Nirali still feels it's different because she knew Varun since her school days and even lived with him for 3 years. He knew her more than anyone till one day when he suddenly left. Karan tries to find a solution and finally feels Nirali should have sex with someone. Nirali gets more clients who wonder what they should do if they aren't attracted physically to each other even after 90% compatibility. Nirali is conducting a test soon to figure out chemistry between people and asks them to come for it. Kaustubh is working when he gets a lot of messages and suddenly dashes out of his office. When a woman comes to find him, Nirali informs her that he just left. The woman is sure he's trying to hide from her and starts insulting him. She thinks he's a liar and destroys homes, and her biggest mistake was to trust him. Serena also nervously claims he's out for work, but she decides to wait out there for him since she knows he can't hide forever. Nirali is impressed with how well she knows Kaustubh and decides to take her for coffee. She's even more shocked when she learns the woman is Ranjan, Kaustubh's wife, who is desperately trying to get a divorce from him. Girish thinks Kaustubh should just agree to give Ranjan a divorce, but Kaustubh wants her to suffer more. He is in denial when Girish points out that he is suffering a lot more since 4 years. He has a lot of matches on the dating app, but Girish thinks that's an excuse and feels like he still holds out hope for getting back with her. Ranjan starts ranting about everything that was wrong with their marriage and how controlling he was. She remembers that he always wanted his coffee order to be perfect and spent hours picking out cardamom from the rice, even if she was hungry enough to eat flowers. She admits he's a great cook, but he's also eccentric since he doesn't allow anyone to enter the kitchen. He used to be the youngest partner at a prestigious law firm, but when an influential father forced him to lie about her daughter's husband hitting her, he left the case. It didn't agree with his morals, so he also fought with people at the law firm. Nirali wonders why she married him, and she explains that even if he's crazy, Kaustubh is a romantic at heart. He even prepared a special dance performance for her on her birthday, but she cheated on him. She admits that since the time he quit his job at the law firm, their differences started increasing. She always wanted a comfortable life with a lot of money, when he could be satisfied even in a small cabin. She is sure their paths are different, even if Nurali thinks they still might have some chance. When Serena comes over to inform them that he might not be back anytime soon, Ranjan asks Nurali to talk to him for her, since she has a flight to catch. When Kostab is sure Ranjan must have left the office, he sneaks in to get his laptop. Nurali is still there and tries to talk to him about what she discussed with his wife. Kostab asks her to mind her business and walks back to the car. He starts ranting about Ranjan telling his enemy all his intimate secrets. When Nurali gets into the same elevator the next time, he moves out of there and feels angry about how much he hates her. She gets friendly with Serena, but Kostab doesn't like her being near his office. Serena watches as they keep fighting every day and try to put things in each other's office to ruin their day. Nurali is having a few drinks with Seema, but she can't stop being frustrated about Kostab being a good dancer. She claims she can dance too, and performs some very awkward steps before she passes out. Preeti saw Kostab's date the other day and wonders where he met her. Girish feels bad about Kostab's wife leaving him but is proud of his progress on the dating app. This offends Preeti because she thinks Girish also wants to leave her so he can have fun. She thinks Kostab is trying to ruin their perfect marriage and asks him not to corrupt her husband. When Nurali keeps mentioning Kostab, Seema is glad someone got her to stop talking about Varun all the time. Seema wants to thank him but his name irritates Nurali, so she decides to call him, so she can shout at him. Seema thinks it's a terrible idea but after trying a few times, Preeti finally accepts the call from Kostab's phone and puts it on speaker. Nurali starts him and thinks he's a coward. Seema tries to stop her but she manages to find an empty elevator and continues with her rant. She feels like his life has a lot of contradictions because he tries to break couples all the time but is too scared to give his own wife a divorce. Preeti is curious about who Nurali is since she's saying things they weren't able to as his friends. Nurali is sure even his food tastes bad because he's a bitter man. She wants him to stop hiding from his feelings and understand the value of relationships. They try to avoid each other in office the next day and she even builds a huge wall of boxes between them. He decides to mediate when he's not able to focus on work. When Nurali's clients come to meet her again, she starts making a lot of noise, which disturbs him. He heads to her office with the intention of scolding her but overhears her telling Richa and Raj about accepting the differences between two people. She thinks being with someone who is different helps you grow and wants them to accept these differences instead of fighting them. When he decides to leave without scolding her, he notices someone struggling with the door and helps her. It turns out to be Karan, who is very impressed with his chivalry. He doesn't believe she's Nurali's mother in her looks and temperament. Karan discusses her 60th birthday party with everyone and invites them all. She specially wants Kostab to be there since he's her friend now, and he playfully flirts with her for looking too young for her age. She has made all the arrangements and informs them about a dance competition. Karan wonders if there's some tension between him and Nurali, which leads them to insult each other again. She wants them to finish their fights that day because she needs her party to be a happy occasion. Nurali can't stand him and is offended by how much he insulted her. Karan has done enough matchmaking to know those weren't insults, and feels like there's a lot of chemistry between them. Nurali is conducting a pheromone test with her volunteers and asks them to blindfold themselves to pick up on each other's energy. She asks them to work with their senses and walk around trying to find someone they feel comfortable with. One of the volunteers, Aditya, even manages to reach Serena and starts smelling her. When she tries to say something, he asks her to just breathe and she soon feels comfortable with the intimacy. Nurali apologizes for him coming there, but Serena doesn't mind. At her mom's dance practice, Kostab asks for a truce with Nurali since he knows how important this party is for Karan. She agrees to not fight but gets angry the moment he mentions dancing. She apologizes and admits she hasn't danced in 10 years and isn't comfortable. He understands and goes in to join the ladies. Over the next few days, he seems fascinated with her experiments but freaks out when a man tries to get into his cabin. She is happy with how involved he is in the dance practice with her mom and even helps with his coffee. When he wins a case for an innocent woman whose husband was beating her, she feels proud. While he is overseeing another dance practice, Kabir decides to have a chat with Kostab. When Nurali is traveling, Girish tries to talk to her but she thinks of him as a stalker and threatens him with pepper spray. He shows her a photo of him with Kostab to explain that he's a friend and wants to talk to her. Kabir informs Kostab about Varun, who was Nurali's boyfriend who died of a heart attack. He suddenly feels very bad about making the comment earlier about her boyfriend. Since Varun went to the market one day and never came back last year, Nurali blames him till now for leaving without saying goodbye. Kabir wants him to find someone for Nurali, so she stops being sad all the time. Girish wants her help to find a good match for Kostab too, since he feels like he's very lonely. He found out that Kostab invites random girls to cry about Ranjan and takes them to the same places where he went with her. He heard her shouting at him on the phone, and feels like she's absolutely correct and understands Kostab well. Nurali discusses with Seema that she needs a man immediately, which alerts Kostab and he comes over to check how he can help. She needs a male volunteer for her compatibility test since she has to get the results soon. He reminds her that he is a man whose clients just canceled, so he's available to help her out. He's very competitive about the test and finishes it soon, but needs to wait for her. They ask each other some questions to learn more about their opinions on their partners. When the questions come to sex, he can tell she hasn't had any in a long time. They wait a long time for the results till it finally shows they're 35% compatible. He wants a retest, but Nirali knows it can't be done that way. He has never had such a low score, but Nirali thinks even 35 is a lot for people who are as different as them. He asks her to change the test since he doesn't think these questions are good enough. When she asks what he would do instead, he is sure he would just throw the papers first. For the next step, he kisses her passionately. They keep kissing till the elevator opens, and continue when he drags her in. They reach his house and it doesn't matter to him that she hasn't done this in a long time. They decide to make this casual and continue getting intimate till he spots Runcheon's photo. She understands the weight of carrying someone from your past and feels like she also has some unresolved issues she needs to work on. But they decide to hook up again and meet at a hotel the next day. Nirali hasn't felt this happy in a long time and keeps looking over at Kostab's office to see if he's there. Serena comes over with a cake to thank her for making her meet Aditya, who has proposed to her. She was married to someone who used to beat her, but Kostab helped her get a quick divorce and even hired her. She never thought she would find love again and thanks Nirali for it. She wants to share this news with Kostab too, but he's missing since the morning and not picking up her calls. Kostab doesn't turn up the whole day or even the next one, and no one can reach him. Nirali keeps calling, but there's no response. Karan and her friends also ask for him, but Nirali thinks they shouldn't depend on anyone so much for their dance performance, and feels like he has left them all because he got bored. Seema wants her to know it's not her fault, but Nirali feels stupid about falling for him after knowing what kind of a person he is. She's upset about ignoring the red flags, and even Kabir's ice cream can't cheer her up. She tries to tell herself that everything is fine and she will be better the next day. Kostab turns up at the dance practice the next day and wants to speak to her. He apologizes for ghosting her for 4 days, but the ladies take him away for the practice before he can say anything. Kostab is sure he has disappointed Nirali and shares with Girish how he thought about it the whole night when things happened between them. He reveals that he disappeared to Kolkata to meet Runcheon after that. At Karan's 60th birthday party, Kostab can't take his eyes off Nirali when he watches her enter. He tries to talk to her, but she wants him to meet her mother first. Pussy announces that Kostab and Nirali will judge their dance competition, and they sit down next to each other. He tries to talk to her again, but she feels there's no need to explain anything. As the ladies start performing, Kostab informs the guests about how Pussy lost her husband and son in an accident, and still tries to enjoy her life. When someone else comments on wanting to be as fit as the ladies in that age, he shares Jayanti's story with them, and how even a lot of surgeries couldn't keep her away from the dance floor. The women get a well-deserved standing ovation, and Kostab acknowledges how inspiring the women are in his speech. Karan announces that their judges need to dance now, but Nirali is scared and refuses to do it. Kostab offers to help and doesn't let her get off the stage. He expertly guides her through the process till she's dancing along with him beautifully. He reminds her about what she told her clients about it not being a bad thing if two opposite people like each other. After he leaves her on the stage, she gets him back and takes the lead. For someone who hasn't danced in 10 years, she's very graceful, and helps bring out the amazing chemistry they share. They stay in each other's arms even after the music stops, till Runcheon crashes the party and calls out to Nirali. She's excited to share the good news and thanks Nirali for helping them sort out their relationship. When she mentions how he flew to Kolkata to see her, Kostab takes her away because he doesn't want her to say more. Nirali has heard enough to feel numb and betrayed again, and she leaves the floor. As Seema tries to comfort her, Nirali finds it funny that she helped Kostab and Runcheon get back together. She feels selfish because she doesn't think they're a good match and feels heartbroken. Kostab comes over to talk when she congratulates him for working things out with Runcheon. When Seema leaves, he explains what happened after she left him that night. He went to Kolkata and spoke to Runcheon, and thanks to Nirali, he is finally free. It took him 4 days to get the divorce, but he somehow managed it. He confesses his love for her and declares that he only wants to be with her. As her family tries to secretly watch, he takes a box out of his pocket and asks her to marry him. 4 months later, Pooja is glad she took Nirali's advice and worked on her relationship with Mani to save it. Kostab isn't too happy about her stealing his clients, but asks if she will support him if his business fails.